Literally, the difference is like almost $10,000 in income earning. I am shook. I mean, think of how much that is over a lifetime. And I will say for sure that this is not the same in many parts of the world, including next door in the United States. So how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Boma. I'm an award-winning entrepreneur and community leader, and my channel is dedicated to helping you succeed as an immigrant here in Canada. Welcome today. Thanks for joining me. Today's video, I am talking about why Canada is the best place to raise your family and have kids. Yes, you heard that right. Canada is the best place to raise your family and have kids. I don't have kids of my own. I'm just going to be honest and say I do not have a single child. I don't even have a pet child. However, I was a person who grew up in Canada, and so I can speak from firsthand experience about the opportunities that Canada has provided me and why you should also give your children the same opportunities. So if you're curious about that, you know what to do. Like this video. I'm gonna pause and let you like the video. It really actually helps my channel reach more people, and it helps this video reach more people. So thank you for doing that. Also subscribe, and if you have questions, let me know. Thank you for doing all of that. Let's get started. I'm gonna keep it completely 100%. I think Canada is the best place to have kids and raise a family for a few reasons. Primarily, statistics tells us that the children of immigrants often outperform and do so much better than the general non-immigrant population. That is a huge statement, and let's break it down. We know immigrants, I don't know where you're watching this video from, but a lot of my viewers come from the US, from the UK, from India, from Nigeria. Shout out to you all if you're watching from there, and also if you're watching from other parts of the world. You probably understand that there may be challenges in your country. Maybe you're moving to Canada for economic opportunities. Maybe you're moving to Canada because you want a better life for your children. And so the reality is that many immigrants are coming from maybe a bit more challenging circumstances, and they're coming to Canada, to search for greener pastures. And despite all these challenges that immigrants come from or come with, their children still outperform compared to, Canadian-born people. And that is pretty remarkable. It shows that immigrants are resilient. It shows that parents are out here providing, quality home training to their kids. So shout out to you if you're a parent watching this video. And so what else do statistics tell us about, the children of Canadian immigrants, which should convince you that Canada is the place to raise your family? And so let's talk about educational achievements, because that is a huge one. Immigrants love their kids to go to school. Oh my goodness. Like, I don't think I know a single immigrant family whose parents were like, yep, don't bother. It's like rare, I think our parents, even if you're not going to university, they want you to, go to trade school, go, get your red seal, something like that. University and educational accomplishments is a huge part of a lot of immigrant identities, and the statistics actually does back that up. By the age 20, 70% of immigrants who arrive before age 15 are in post-secondary education versus 56% of the overall population. 56% versus 70%, that is pretty significant. So what it ends up being is that immigrants are often more educated than the Canadian population. And it doesn't just start at age 20, that trend continues on. In 2018, 25-year-olds in the overall population had a median wage of $29,700, but 25-year-olds who immigrated as children were making an average of $30,000 per year. I mean, $5,000 per year, that is significant. $25,000 versus $30,000 doesn't seem like a huge number, but I mean, if you were to give anybody $5,000 per year and be like, here you go, they'll be happy. So, that difference also shows not just in the educational accomplishments, but the fact that immigrants in the workforce, are making more money also. A huge part about this is also what sort of stream that their parents came through. They could have come through Express Entry, provincial nominee program, or other pathways, or maybe they could have come here as asylum seekers. But in general, the children of economic class immigrants are the ones that see the most sort of educational accomplishments. And no shocker, if your family's coming here through an economic stream, they're probably already well off. right? Because you need to show that you have proof of funds to be able to come to Canada in the first place. They're probably already educated because you need to have some sort of educational qualifications to get the required points to come to Canada as well. And so those sort of streams where maybe they're not asylum seekers, fleed in war, and fleed in some sort of oppression, means that it also translates to their children because their parents are more well off. It means that the kids are also more well off versus maybe kids who come from, war and are fleeing some sort of persecution. They may struggle in terms of, settling in Canada. Something else that's interesting is that up to the age of 23, family class and refugee class kids had higher earnings than their economic class counterparts because they were more likely to be working than going to school. That's such an interesting statistic I can't say this word, statistic, to unpack because like I was saying, kids who come from the economic class or other sort of categories like provincial nominee, express entry, etc., more likely to be educated, and so their kids go to school. However, if your family came from maybe a more impoverished background and you're not in school, you are in the workforce and you are earning more money, but that stops by the mid-20s because now those kids who are in university are now in the labor force and are now able to, get employment and make more money. So, yeah. Interesting. By the age of 30, immigrants who come as children through an economic class immigration program had median wages of $52,400, and the overall population was making $41,800. It's funny how the income differences gets even higher. In the 20s, it was like $5,000, and now by the age of 30, the difference is like almost $10,000 in income earning. I am shook. I mean, think of how much that is over a lifetime. I mean, if you're working for like 30 years and you're basically making $10,000 more, you're making almost $500,000 more. That's a lot. The difference in labor market outcomes is basically due to how immigrants are admitted to Canada. Economic class migrants are approved to come to Canada for their ability to integrate in the labor market. They arrive with, higher levels of human capital. They're young, they're middle-aged, they have language skills and in-demand skills. And then their children are basically developing these characteristics that their parents already had. Other than the educational and the economic accomplishments, I think personally I can say that a huge part of my success in Canada is just the fact that in Canada I had the freedom to explore, and that meant, I had the freedom to volunteer in lots of different places. I had the freedom to do lots of internships and figure out what sort of career I wanted to explore. I had the freedom to travel. I think these are things that really contribute to just being a wholesome individual in a way that maybe is limited in more impoverished countries. Obviously, if you're watching this in the US or the UK, Australia, they are quite similar in terms of what young people can do, but I think in more conservative countries, youth don't have the same opportunities that youth have in Canada. For instance, just a few minutes ago, I was, reviewing an agreement with Canada Summer Jobs, and that's essentially a program created by the government to encourage young people to work, and you can apply for a job in Canada sponsored by the government from the age of 15 to 30. I mean, that is incredible. And you can do this job part-time, you can do this job full-time, you can do this job from home, you can do this job in multiple industries, and the government will subsidize the cost of employers to hire a young person. That is incredible. I wish I had an opportunity like that when I was 15 to, just like get my hands dirty and, just try out working. I did not get my first job till I was 17 in Botswana. And let me tell you, I had to fight to get that position. I don't mean physically, but, I had to really go out of my way and really prove myself. I was working in a newspaper and I had to hound the editor for probably months. I sent him just samples of my writing. I would mail him samples of my writing, every week in the mail. Like, hey, I can write. Here's an article I wrote that can be published. And then eventually he was like, oh my gosh, this girl will not stop bugging me. I'll give her a job. But, you don't have to go through that much of a hassle in Canada. I'm not saying fighting for a job is a bad thing, but it's just that in Canada, when you're even 15, there's just so many opportunities already available to you that the government actively supports employers to hire young people, that a young person just has a lot more opportunities than they would in a smaller or poorer countries. And so that's one huge advantage of living in Canada. And the final advantage I'll say is just the freedoms that comes with living in a country that is developed. I don't have to sound bad, but there's just, life is just different when you live in Canada and you're a young person versus in other parts of the world. There's freedom in terms of, going out with your friends, pre-pandemic, of course, social life, the school system, middle schools, high schools. There's just so much support, encouragement, love, and development for young people. I'm not saying that, people in other parts of the world don't have that. I had really wonderful educational experiences in Nigeria and Botswana, but comparing that to my youngest sister who went to high school in Canada, her high school experience was very different because the nature of the clubs and activities, that Canada has is just kind of unmatched compared to even the US. No offense to my American watchers, but I think there's something about Canada where schools are just more equitable. I know the US, for instance, has lots of challenges and outcomes between, a kid from a low income area to a kid in a high income area. But I think in Canada, our income discrepancies do not overtly affect the educational system. It does, race and income and gender and all these things do play a role, but the effects are not as harsh. And I say this as a person who does a lot of work in the educational system. I work with lots of schools that are in low income areas, but these kids in these schools still have a really good fighting chance. And the Ministry of Education and the school boards make sure that, all kids have equal access to opportunity, regardless of if they're in, the most fancy part of town or in the poorest part of town. And I will say for sure that this is not the same in many parts of the world, including next door in the United States. So, American listeners, please don't drag me. I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. Those are the reasons why you need to give your children the opportunity to live a gorgeous life in Canada. And so, if you're watching this video, you're probably curious about coming to Canada anyways, and I hope it works out for you. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel because it really helps me grow on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck in your immigration journey, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.